Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've done one of these shows. Welcome to a Snowflake on America, episode 10. It's been a good couple of weeks since we've done one of these shows here. But on this show, specifically, we're going to be covering news from the United States of America. I've got 6 different stories for you guys here. The date and time of this live stream is the 12th of June 2025 at 8 p.m. UK time. Just for reference, we are live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1, just for reference there, guys. I just want to say a big hello to everyone in the chat. There's a lot of you guys here tonight. It's great to see so many people out. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I hope you guys find today's show informative and helpful to you. So let me just give a quick hello to Stephen Banker. Good to see you, buddy. Jao, one of our moderators there. Do check out his YouTube channel as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Vicky is also here. Good to see you, Vicky. Stephen Banker there. Terry Regan, good to see you there. Check out Terry Regan. He's got his own YouTube channel as well. Martin Brisk there as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else who may be lurking in the chats there. Good to see you guys all there. I was about to say something else and I completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we've got 6 stories tonight where we're covering, and I've got 2 funny videos to go along as well. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do, you can leave a super chat down below to support not just me, but the Democratic Penguins Republic as well. If you can, it'd be greatly appreciated as well, guys. What does your t-shirt say? Can't make it out. I actually can't remember. But anyways, if you want to see what it is, it's a Pikachu on a DJ, but being DJ Pikachu, if you want to see what it is. But I thought I'd just put something different on there. I also want to apologize. I've had a really bad migraine pretty much throughout midday all day till up to 6 p.m. That's why I didn't attend the 2 Davies show. I actually went and took a nap today. That's how bad my head was there. Stuart Lara, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Right, so let's get started, guys. The first story I've got for you guys is from the Associated Press. It's a short one here, but obviously all of these stories are still very important in of its own way. So the headline is Governor Abbott deploys over 5,000 Texas National Guard troops ahead of the planned No Kings protest. What is the No Kings protest, Regan? So for those who aren't aware, this Saturday is not only sadly Donald Trump's birthday, but they're also hosting Donald Trump will be having a military parade on that day. I believe it's to commemorate. It's not only Donald Trump's birthday, it's another commemoration to celebrate the armed forces as well. So in doing so, they're basically going to have a military parade in Washington. And there are this planned protest, which is called the No Kings protest. It's being planned not just in Texas, but pretty much all over the country. And obviously, governors and all officials are aware of these planned protests and are preparing for the worst on Saturday. So Saturday, things are going to could get really dicey in many parts of the area. Los Angeles is obviously the one where I'm sure most people will be thinking about the most. Mr. E, good to see you there as well. Hope you are doing well. So that's where most likely things there. So yes, and of course solidarity to anyone attending the No Kings protest as well. It's going to be quite feisty. I will not be able to cover it at all. I'm going to be away from my computer over the weekend, so I won't be able to cover it at all. But I'll talk about it obviously on Monday morning show. I will talk about it on Monday morning show. But to anyone who's out there from America, if you are planning to go to these protests, just the only message I have for you guys is I understand why you have to do it, but just be safe is my main message. Just try to be safe as you possibly can. It's really important that you take care of yourself out there. I understand why you need to do it. We all understand why this is important, why you need to make your voices heard because of what's happening in America right now. I really cannot emphasize that. But just try to be as safe as you possibly can. But let's talk a little bit about what's happened. And the thing is as well, before we talk just a bit about Texas here, because this is specifically Texas here. Obviously, this is a Republican state. But even though it is a Republican state, there will still be obviously people who are against what Donald Trump is doing. There are Democratic voters in Texas, even though it's a majority Republican. There will be voters and there will be people who are against what Donald Trump is doing here. So even though there are states that are red, does not necessarily mean that they're all in support of what Donald Trump is doing as well. Hello, Area Blog on the Twitch. Hope you are doing well there. So let's have a little reader. So the governor, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, said on Thursday that he has ordered the deployment of more than 5,000 Texas National Troop Guards, along with more than 2,000 state police, to help local law enforcement manage protests against President Donald Trump and the ongoing federal immigration raids. Abbott's announcement did not detail where the troops would be sent, but some were seen at a protest on Wednesday night in downtown San Antonio near the Alamo. That protest drew hundreds of demonstrators but did not erupt into violence. So you have to be very clear. The Associated Press are very clear specifics here if you're about the details here, where in comparison to like CNN, they try to paint a murkier picture on it there. More protests are planned on Saturday in San Antonio and across Texas in cities such as Houston, Austin, Dallas as part of the National No Kings movement. Protests earlier this week in Austin and Dallas led to brief clashes with police who used chemical irritants to disperse the crowds, and about a dozen were arrested. Peaceful protests are part of our fabric of our union, but Texas will not tolerate the lawlessness that we've seen in Los Angeles in response to President Donald Trump's enforcement and immigration law, Abbott said. Anyone engaged in acts of violence or damaged property will be arrested and held accountable to the full extent of the law. The Texan governor's move stands in sharp contrast to California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat who has publicly clashed with Trump over his decision to deploy a National Guard and Marine personnel in Los Angeles. Mayors in San Antonio and Austin have said they did not ask for Abbott to mobilize the National Guard into their cities as well. So that's very quite interesting. So the mayors did not ask for this, so they're being told that they have to have this, whether they like it or not as well. But as it points out here in the article, we don't know where they're going to be stationed. But this is obviously just one of many planned No Kings protests in several parts of the United States. I believe Chicago is going to have them as well. Los Angeles, obviously, one. San Francisco. I don't know if Las Vegas is doing one. I believe there's New York, and obviously in Washington will be obviously where the military parade is, but they will. My understanding is that they're going to crack down really hard in Washington on it, even if they're peaceful. Don't quote me on that. It's a rumor that I've heard on Twitter. Okay, so I wouldn't take what I've just said on about the crackdown in Washington at face value. But then again, unfortunately, this is Donald Trump's world that we are talking about when it comes to it there. But yeah, we will obviously keep close eye on it, and I may cover and in tomorrow morning's live stream, guys, as well. I will obviously cover some UK and world news together on that as well. And just before we go any further, obviously, I'm sure you guys are aware of the big story that's happened in India with the horrible, terrible loss of life, the plane crash that occurred. Obviously, my full heart and condolences goes out to everyone in what happened there. It's absolutely a miracle that one or two people have actually survived the crash, and I think we're looking at about over 270 lives lost, possibly, or maybe even more, from the plane crash. Obviously, I'll discuss more about it tomorrow, but I just wanted to offer my condolences to that, because it is sometimes we don't understand why certain things happen, but they do. So, Dave McGinnis, good to see you, my friend. I hope you are doing well. Apologies I could not join you for the 4 p.m. Show. I hope it was a good show for you. I just had a really bad migraine. I still have a migraine, by the way. It's just not fully gone away, so I just couldn't attend, I'm afraid, there. What do I think is going to happen in the Israel-Palestine conflict? What's going to happen to Gaza, says Aeroblog. I'm not really going to... I don't really want to discuss what's happening in Israel-Palestine on this subject, but... feel free to ask me that on Tuesday when we'll cover it there, or one of the morning shows. You're more than welcome to ask me that there, but we're talking about American news specifically here, but I appreciate the question nonetheless. So we'll switch gears to this one here from The Guardian. Judges to consider California's request for restraining order against Trump over the use of troops in LA. So Gavin Newsom filed a suit challenging the president's move to call up troops to suppress against ICE raids. Now, the thing is that this is going to go to an appeal, and this may likely go all the way up to the Supreme Court, possibly. I'm no lawyer whatsoever, but I just don't think it's a simple case of a judge saying, no, you can't do this. My understanding is that Donald Trump has the absolute authority to call the National Guard if he wants to. There's nothing within the confines of it that he can't do it, as far as I'm aware, in terms of the interpretation of the law. From whenever I've listened to Glenn Kushner, do check out his YouTube channel, because he's a lawyer and expert on this kind of stuff. There's nothing really. I don't think there's anything legality that really you can do about that. The Marines might be a different matter. The Marines might be a possible different matter on the circumstances of it. So a federal judge on Thursday is expected to hear arguments over the request of the California Governor Gavin Newsom for a temporary restraining order to block Donald Trump's from deploying National Guard troops and Marines to suppress protests against immigration raids in Los Angeles. So the hearing is set for 4:30 p.m. ET in Federal District Court in San Francisco. It comes after the presiding judge, Charles Breyer, a Bill Clinton appointee, earlier declined to grant the immediate injunction against the administration. The request for the restraining order is part of a lawsuit filed by the state of California, challenging Donald Trump's move to call up more than 4,000 National Guard troops and about 700 active duty Marines based in 29 Palms, California, over Newsom's objections. The complaint is largely aimed at the legitimacy of Trump's order. It sought a judicial declaration to nullify the order to make it clear that it was unlawful for the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to bypass Newsom in federalizing the state's National Guard forces in this instance. The hearing is expected to focus on the Title X statute evoked by Trump, which allows the president to fertilize the National Guard if there is a rebel or a danger of rebellion, or if the president is unable with regular forces to extend the laws of the United States. Now, that's very interesting. That's the invocation of whether it's a rebellion or danger of rebellion. Now, we know, and I mean, it's not rocket science for us to understand this, yeah? There is no rebellion of sorts happening in Los Angeles. It's not like there's an uprising taking place of sorts. It is peaceful protesters who are standing against ICE, who are detaining both legal and illegal immigrants in Los Angeles, which is an immigrated field, very much an immigrated field city. That is what this is about, and the way this is being conducted is an intention of to start a fire. This is the intention of Donald Trump, is to basically ignite a rebellion, to start. He wants to cause trouble. He wants to cause anger. He wants to rile up communities. It's not just about detaining people. It's about Trump getting a reason to seize more power. And if they can make a case, and if they can force peaceful protesters to turn violent, which is what Donald Trump wants, this is what he wants. He wants them to play into their hands. Yeah. Then this gives him executive orders to enforce more, to take more executive power away from Congress and the Senate, to say, these people are out of control. We've lost control of our cities. We've lost control of the country. I need to take full, complete, overall control of the National Guard, Marines, of the police force, of everyone. That's essentially what it wants to come down to. And then also the other thing as well is, if it does go this far as well, it also means he gets to declare martial law, which basically says we can't have elections while our country is rampant right now. I need to remain president for the foreseeable future. This is the path that Donald Trump wants to take, because he knows that he can't really run for a third term, because it goes against the Constitution. And then that, obviously, if it goes that far, obviously, where's the Supreme Court going to swing? Are they really going to swing to Donald Trump? We honestly don't know, because the Supreme Court swung against Donald Trump with the case of Alberto Garcia over him being deported to El Salvador against his wishes, it was against actual American laws that he wasn't supposed to be, and he had to be returned to the United States of America. He eventually was, thank God. But just because the Supreme Court favored the judges, favored the right side on there, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to favor the laws, the Constitution in this regard as well. So you can't exactly trust the judges to the Supreme Courts to basically be on our side. And also, Donald Trump can just ignore them. And we know that Donald Trump is ignoring laws, is ignoring things. His whole administration has been ignoring things. I mean, we watched yesterday, Pete Hegseth and others basically just ignore requests for certain documents. I mean, that just speaks volumes of just the problems that the whole American system has right now with this band of lunatics running the Trump administration. So although pockets of protest turned violent, some threw rocks at law enforcement vehicles and set alight a series of driverless Waymo cars. Yeah, they were very unhappy about that, the brand. Local authorities in Los Angeles County did not say they needed federal assistance. No, they did not need federal assistance. The California Attorney General, Bob Ronda, is expected to argue that Trump's needed Newsom's approval or request for such a mobilization, and that there was no basis to bring in the National Guard forces because the protests did not rise to a level of rebellion. But the Trump administration has suggested that the decision of whether to federalize the National Guard at the discretion of the president, and that federal courts cannot second-guess decisions by the executive branch as to whether the military was needed. So in its 29-page response to the lawsuit, the Justice Department also said that Newsom was misrepresenting the situation because the military was always going to be used in a protective function and not to perform law enforcement functions. The Justice Department cited memos from the Office of Legal Counsel written by William before he became Chief Justice of the United States, which suggests that the military could be used to protect federal buildings from anti-war protests during the Vietnam War. The memos envisioned the president relying upon his inherent authority in the U.S. Constitution as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, possibly to get around the limitations of the Post-Comitas Act, which makes it illegal for the military to perform a law enforcement function on domestic soil, unless the president has invoked the Insurrection Act, which Trump has not. Memos have not been legally tested in court. This is what the president wants to get to. This is where he wants to get to, the Insurrection Act. He wants to get that, but he needs to rile up the public enough to be able to initiate that. The Justice Department is also contended with the Trump administration had complied with the stance in full with respect to the governor's putative role, because he had notified Newsom of Trump's intentions to deploy the National Guard and Marines before they were implemented. Trump has been suggesting that the idea of deploying troops against Americans since his first term, when some Black Lives Matter protests in the summer of 2020 turned violent. He opted against doing so at the time, but has since expressed his regret to revise that he did not punish the protesters more aggressively. That's because he had. That's because in 2020 he actually had, rather than everyone saying yes, Mr. Trump, you're absolutely perfect, Mr. Trump, he actually had people challenging him, and he doesn't like being challenged. And it was good at that time that he had people challenging him. Yes, they were all problematic, but at least he had people challenging him at the time. Notably, during the campaign rally in 2023, Trump vowed to respond more forcibly if elected to a second term. Quote, "You're supposed to not be involved in that. You have to be asked by a governor or the mayor to come in," he said of the president's usual role in deciding whether to send in the military. "Next time, I'm not waiting." This is what he said in 2023. Well, this is what he wants. Well, not just technically, it's not just Donald Trump. Let's be clear, it's not just Donald Trump, okay? Remember, I've said this before. I shouldn't be saying it's just Donald Trump, all this, because it's not all Donald Trump. It's people behind him, people pulling strings behind him, because at the end of the day, he's the figurehead. He's the figurehead at the front of it. There's people pulling his strings behind him that want this to happen as well. That basic, and obviously there's the connections to Russia as well, possibly as well. So it's not just Donald Trump. There are people behind him pulling strings, wanting this as well. But it really is a case of how America responds to this. And this Saturday is going to be scary. There was a story in Los Angeles that there was a fatality from the riots. I still have not heard anything more from that. And I'm sure if there was, it would have been blown up by the mainstream media. So I don't think that's true. I don't think any lives have been lost since any of the protests that have taken place in Los Angeles. If someone has a story on that and knows, please let me know. But I haven't seen anything of the sorts. Just going to read some of your comments. Funny thing is, Trump here looking to fill in to his speech in Craigslist, 1,000 in Bitcoin and fast food, says Jow. We will get to. There is something like Trump launched recently. We'll get to in a moment. Joe also says, but the state governor has to ask the president to do it. This is not a disaster, and neither is an invasion of a foreign army. One of the motives of the Civil War in America was precisely the rights of states. There, Good evening, Billy Kershaw. Hope you're doing well. Stuart Lard there says, Trump ain't smart enough to do this on his own. No, that is true. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, well, I strongly believe there are people playing behind, pulling strings behind him as well. No, I absolutely agree. So we're going to go into this, and this ties into the next story as well, guys. From CNN. So Trump's move to use the military for immigration enforcement was months in the making, apparently. So when President Donald Trump put 2,000 National Guard troops under his control on Saturday night in order them into Los Angeles, it was billed as an urgent response to quell protest. But it was also a move long in the making. Behind the scenes, the White House and the Department of Homeland Security have been working for months to find ways to use the National Guard and the military more broadly to bolster the administration's aggressive immigration enforcement agenda. Multiple people familiar with the internal deliberations had told CNN. The discussions have stemmed from a desire to dramatically ramp up nationwide immigration operations and arrest more migrants than ever before, a strategy that has put intense strain on the government's existing enforcement apparatus. The administration has tried to augment immigration and customs enforcement capacity by pulling personnel from multiple agencies. Quote, it's certainly an expansion, but it's a needed expansion, White House border Kissier Tom Holman had told CNN. When asked about the involvement of the National Guard in ICE operations in Los Angeles, quote, we're trying to use all available resources. That's why we're trying to bring all these other agencies, ATF, FBI, US Marshals, we've got a hell of a job ahead of us. They want basically any kind of law enforcement from regional, local, national, state, in any capacity in the United States. This Trump administration wants every single one of them all on board in helping ICE in some way, shape, or form. In them now, in some Democrats, now obviously in California, it's different because a law was passed before Trump took office, where obviously the LAPD are not allowed to assist ICE in any of their detainees. They're not allowed to take part in any of it. With regards to what ICE are doing, their only job, the LAPD specifically, is to ensure the peace. That is their only role in it. They can't assist, and they're not allowed to assist in any way, shape, or form the immigration ICE in any way of what they are doing. However, for example, in Texas, shall we say, or in a California red state, obviously it's a bit more favorable to them. So there's obviously major cooperation there, obviously. But in Democratic and blue states, it's a lot harder to. I don't know if that same law in California applies to, say, like in Chicago, for example. I honestly don't know if the same law applies there, guys. Good evening, Simon says 55. Hope you are doing well. So Holman stressed that the members of the National Guard are not enforcing immigration laws and are focused on servicing as protection for federal property and agents who the administration says have been assaulted. So even with thousands of federal agents fanning out nationwide to arrest migrants, the result have, up until recently, fallen well short of the White House expectations, the sources said, leading to leadership shakeups at ICE and tense calls with meetings with Stephen Miller, Trump's top aide and architect of the administration's demand for increased arrests and deportations. ICE is now averaging around 2,000 arrests daily, up from 1,000. 2,000 daily. 2,000 daily. That's brutal. So many people being rounded up. There's so many people's families destroyed. So many. That's as well as bad for so many businesses as well who rely on some of these immigrants as well. That's really, really bad. And in the long term, it's going to hurt America's economies as well as state economies as well. Because all these workers, because I don't believe some of them may not be working, but I'm sure we will assume that the majority are working. They're going to be gone. They're not going to be able to contribute because America can't just not rely on American citizens. They do rely on immigrants. Mithril, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Have we played a video of the lady going home who gets shot by the rubber bullet? The black reporter rushes to her aid. I played that video on last night's live stream, Billy. You missed that on last night's live stream. We covered that last night, my friend. Miller has been in the White House Situation Room as Homeland Security and Pentagon officials have provided updates on the situation in Los Angeles in recent days. The message from him has been clear. The administration is not backing down, and they are to proceed with operations. The internal discussions about leveraging the military to support immigration enforcement inside the US rather than just on the southern border began as early as February, when the White House and the DHS started planning how to mobilize active duty troops from consigning states and force protection for federal agents. There has also been discussions within the administration, including the Department of Homeland Security and the Defense Department, exploring whether National Guard units from Republican-led states could be used in non-consenting states, since they have more latitude under state orders when they are federalized, according to 4 other sources familiar with the task. So basically what they're looking at is whether or not they could use National Guards from a Republican-led state and perhaps use them into a Democratic-led state. It's wasteful, fraudulent, and abusive. Yeah, it is. It is, Vicky. It is. Everything that they're doing is absolutely disgusting and out of order. They are clearly inclined to repeat the LA playbook elsewhere, said one of the sources familiar with the matter. CNN reached out to the White House for comment. Trump mobilized the California National Guard against the will of the California governor. Yeah, we know about that. The deployment of active duty Marines to Los Angeles to help with the crowd and riot controls was also an escalation, left many officials at the DoD scratching their heads. People familiar with the matter said. One official said the use of Marines was intended more as a show of force than out of necessity to control the situation out of the ground. But it costs money! We said this last night. It costs money to do that. It costs money to deploy them. Reganelite, have you seen the Democratic senator getting arrested by the FBI for asking puppy killer Nam a question she didn't like? I have not seen that story. If you can give me a few more details, I'll have a look and see if I can pull it up on that. I'd be much appreciated. Or if someone could post me a link on Discord, I'd be appreciated. I mean, what is the point here? So this is them here. This was them on Tuesday. Like, what is this? Like, what is deploying the Marines here going to do? Like, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a waste of their money. These Marines should not be here. They should be at home with their families. This is no benefit to them. This is no benefit to the Trump administration. This is no benefit to anyone. There's no rebellion, there's no uprising happening. The administration is also looking to expand its use of military facilities to hold migrants. Defense Department personnel have conducted tours with Customs and Border Protections at military bases, including Travis Air Force Base in California, Camp Aldery in Indiana, J.B. Maguire Dix Langhast in New Jersey, Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, Camp Parks in California, and Fort Walton in Virginia. Military bases are an option. They were an option under every president I ever worked for, so it's no different now, Holman said. Stressed at the need for congressional funding. Trump's massive tax and spend cuts package will provide billions in funding for immigration enforcement. The urgency ICE detention space is almost maxed out. I would have thought they're still sending people to El Salvador. Are they not still sending people to El Salvador? I suppose it's because of the due process that they're getting in the way of doing so. I know, obviously, they're looking to obviously taking in 2,000 obviously a day. You got to find the places to put them. As of Monday, there were about 55,000 people in ICE custody, according to federal data obtained by CNN. ICE, which relies on parts of cooperation with local jails, is only funded for 41,500 beds. So there's more than 10,000 people who are sleeping on the floor. We're close, Holman told CNN when asked when capacity would max out. We're probably 95% or above. So we're basically going to pile people in. We're going to have them like they are in El Salvador or in South American prisons, Venezuela, where they're just cramped in. Is that how we're going to treat them in inhumane conditions? To be fair, they're already treating some of them in inhumane conditions, because we talked about in the past about some of the conditions that some people have been held in. It's pretty damn disgusting. The first public sign that the administration was planning to use the Guard to help with immigration enforcement came last month, when DHS requested 20,000 Guard troops from the Pentagon to help support its operations. DHS asked for troops to help with proceedings, transportation support, detention support, including premier security and emergency response inside centers, as well as helping with night operations and rural interactions, according to a request obtained by CNN. The Pentagon is still deciding how many National Guard troops it will provide to DHS, and a defense official had said. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth suggested a testimony on Wednesday that the order Trump signed on Saturday activating the Guard troop could apply to other states, in addition to California and other National Guard units. So yeah, like I said, I think they're going to try it. They're going to try and use some of the ones National Guards that they can in other states as well. Quote, part of it was about getting ahead of the problem, so that in other places, if there are other riots in places where law enforcement officers are threatened, we would have had the capacity to surge National Guard there if necessary, Hegseth said on Wednesday. Trump's order on Saturday night was putting at least 2,000 National Guard troops under his control. Did not name a specific location, was very broad. It said that the troops would be deployed in locations where protests against federal functions are occurring and are likely to occur based on current threat assessments and planned operations. Hegseth said that thankfully in most of these states, you have a governor that recognizes the need for it, support it and mobilize it. Him or herself. In California, unfortunately, the governor wants to play politics with it. Newsom, for his part, has accused Trump of administration of employing authoritarian tactics. California may be first, but it clearly won't end there. Other states are next. Democracy is next, he said in an address on Tuesday evening. Immigration agents are also expected to get help from the National Guard units in states where governors have provided permission and deputized the troops to serve as a force, a multi-NISA. If I said that word right, I apologize. A defense official told CNN. And in Texas, for example, Governor Greg Abbott has staunched Trump supporters, said on Wednesday that his state's National Guard was ready to respond if protests emerged there, which we just looked at already. Good evening, Alistair Keir. Thank you so much for the £2 super chat. All hail the DPR, hail. Yes, all, if you can, everyone, please. All hail and support the Democratic Penguins Republic by leaving a super chat if you can today. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you for coming. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for that super chat. Mr. E says, I remember the UK Army changed their non-lethal rubber bullets because of how many fatalities they caused and rounded them somewhat, said there. Yes, when did they change that? I can't remember when they did make that change, but yeah, I do recall them making the change to that. I can't remember when they did make that change though. The situation is getting so weird that Portuguese dual national people and descendants are asking for support from the Portuguese state to be reprimanded back to Portugal, heard in the radio, says Jal. Yeah, because they're not safe. They're not safe where they are. Without Trump invoking the Insurrection Act, which allows the military to carry out law enforcement functions to quell a rebellion or foreign invasion, the Guard cannot make arrests, though they can detain people temporarily until police arrive and provide force protections to federal personnel. ICE posted images on X on Tuesday of Guard troops forming a security perimeter around ICE agents as they arrested a man in California. Yeah, this is how they're using ICE right now. So basically, they're using National Guard as they're using them as a shield, basically to protect ICE from doing their job, because obviously everybody wants to stops ICE doing what they're doing, but the problem is that if they have information on the whereabouts of possible legal or illegal immigrants, they're going to go after them, and they're going to apprehend them whether they're legal or not, because we already know that those who are legal have been detained by ICE either way. 1995, Regan, after the court case, if I remember rightly. Thank you for that, Alistair. Appreciate it. Military troops are providing protection for federal law enforcement officers as they continue operations to remove the worst of the worst from Los Angeles, DHS Assistant Secretary Trillia McLana said in a statement to CNN. If any rioters attack ICE law enforcement officers, military personnel have the authority to temporarily detain them until law enforcement makes the arrest. Yeah. See, the thing is, this is what they want. They want an excuse to be able to... Anybody who isn't... Basically, anyone who isn't white... If you're not an American citizen, if you for whatever reason it is so dangerous now. It's so dangerous if you are not an American citizen in the United States, that if you take part in these protests, if you get caught up in any of it, like get held by the get curled up in it in any way, shape or form, and you get taken to ICE, ICE will just detain you, like no questions asked. Like it doesn't matter if you have whatever your legal status is, because that's the thing is that people's legal status. People are literally getting pulled off the streets. Like 2,000 people a day. 2,000 people a day. They're pulling off the streets. Like just randomly kidnapping people in the middle of the night. This blatant kidnapping is what they are doing. It's a leadership crisis. It is. It's such a terrible thing. And they're rounding up all these people. White people, white and non-left. We said here, not just here, but other YouTubers, other people were saying when Trump came in, get out of the country. You're not safe. We warned people, but some chose to stay and take the risk. And I admire the bravery of those who chose to stay and fight, and I appreciate that. But people were warned that this was coming. A lot of people who voted for Trump were like, "This is not what I expected." The worst thing is the immigrants who voted for Trump, those who weren't serious citizens, Latinos and other non-white Americans who voted for Trump, thinking that this is actually what we needed. And some of those people who actually voted for Trump have now been arrested and deported. And I do in a way feel sorry, because like Joe Biden did a lot during his term, but didn't do enough to impress people. And people were thinking that, I don't know, a lot of people voted against Joe Biden based on what's happening in the Middle East as well. But you look what's happening now, a lot of them, they were told, like, if you let Trump in, things are going to get worse. You know, nobody likes to be told that you're, nobody likes to say, "I told you so," but that's sadly the indication of those who voted for it. Donald needs to work in the fields all summer. Donald wouldn't even be able to do it. Donald would just, he wouldn't be able to pick the fruits. Even if he did, he would damage the fruit with his hands if he did any fruit picking. Wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust him to run the fields in any way, shape, or form. Same with Boris the bloody Johnson. So guys, we're about halfway through the show here. I think we're going to take a little break, and we need to hear an expert about what American dads really say. So I'm going to take this hat off temporarily, because I want to listen to this with you guys. Garen has decided to tell us a little bit about how American dads speak. So let's hear how an American dad speaks in comparison to an Irish dad. Hope you guys enjoy this funny.
Here's my impression of an American dad shouting at his son. Just quickly, I'm going to show you what an Irish dad would be like for reference. "You useless fucking poxy cunts bastard, ya! I'm after going out looking, and I can't find someone as stupid as ya." They always have a bit of indigestion. Okay, and here's the American. "Hey, Tanner. Tanner, you want to talk about what happened today at the Little League game? You and Caden got into a bar fight? You can't frickin' do this, Tanner. You're the best goddamn quarterback on the baseball team. Sorry, I raised my voice. You're gonna ruin your chances at getting a scholarship to an Ivy League college. This isn't you, Tanner. You're my son. We are Schlitzwaters." "Listen, kiddo, why don't me and you and the rest of the family, Bob, Chuck, Amber, and Todd, let's just decompress, go to Target, and I'll buy you your very first AR-15. Follow me, I'm delicious."
Not sure about the AR-15 there. I think that's a bit excessive. I'll buy you your first AR-15. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Not all Americans are like that. Let's be clear. Oh, do check out Garen's music. Check out his YouTube channel, guys. He's absolutely hilarious. He really is. Obviously, he does those short videos are really funny, guys. So I hope you got a laugh out of that. We need that, considering everything that's going on. I'm not sure how I can do an interpretation of an American. So he probably did it better than me, if I'm honest, there, guys. And just a reminder, if you haven't already, guys, hit that like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you guys want to leave any super chats to support myself and the Democratic Penguins Republic, the work that we do here, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to financially support me via YouTube membership, you can do that too for 99p or from $1.99. You can get access to custom emojis, which some of our members can use right now if they wanted to. They also get access to members' community posts, and they absolutely love the cat posts. I know all my members love it when I drop pictures of my lovely cats in very weird positions or just lounging around. That's one of the main reasons why they're actually YouTube members, is because they see the cat pictures of Jasper and Daisy. That's the real reason why they're YouTube members. So if you love cats and you want to see cat pictures, You can join the YouTube membership for as little as 99p, and I know that's the only reason why they are really YouTube members. Also, check out Rumble and Patreon as well, guys. There's exclusive content I post on there. Free content, by the way, not just paid, but free content. Like for Rumble, I cover mainly still news, what's happening in the Middle East, and on Patreon, I cover additional UK news as well. So you can check that out for free. Links for all that stuff is in the description if you guys want to check out as well. So next, we're going to come to an exclusive here from NBC News. So, a deported family of 11-year-old US citizen is recovering from a rare brain tumor, requests humanitarian parole. The girl's symptoms have worsened since the family of mixed immigration status was deported to Mexico in February. The mother told NBC News exclusively, "We are fighting for my girl's life." It's bad enough that it's bad enough when people are deported against their will. Because people don't have paperwork or the right status or whatever. It's bad enough when people are taken away against their will, when even when they have the legal right to be in the United States and they get taken away. It's a whole different level when their life is literally on the line, where they're in the process of having their health being taken care of by doctors in the US, or whatever treatment it is, and they're being pulled out, or it's been completely taken away from them simply because of their immigration status. Their life becomes literally meaningless when it comes to ICE. Like, it doesn't matter whether you are dying or not, ICE are still going to deport you. And you really have to have literally no soul to be part of ICE, to be a part of that force. You literally have to have no soul whatsoever. I wouldn't go as far to call all ICE racist, but I would have no problem with you guys saying that in the comments if you want to say that. But you definitely have to be pretty darn heartless when you know that the job you're doing can involve killing, literally being responsible for the deaths of people as well. So an 11-year-old girl who is a US citizen and is recovering from a rare brain tumor has been living in Mexico since immigration authorities removed her from Texas when they deported her undocumented parents 4 months ago. 4 of her siblings, 3 of whom are also US citizens, were also sent to Mexico with the parents. And since then, the girl's health condition has not improved. Her mother told NBC News, in an attempt to get her to return to the United States to get her the care she needs, the family applied for humanitarian parole with US Citizenship and Immigration Service, that's the USCIS, on Thursday. Quote, "We are fighting for my girl's life," the mother said, adding that her daughter isn't recovering from just any disease. She is not going to be cured overnight. It's something that takes time. So we're literally talking about life and death here, guys. Their request for the undocumented parents and for the girl's non-citizen siblings to be allowed to enter and live in the US temporarily, so that the alien girl can have the full support of her family as she gets the treatment to help save her life, says Danny Woodward of the Texas Civil Rights Project, a legal advocacy organization representing the family. The mother said her daughter's headaches and dizziness have worsened. Her symptoms have become so reoccurrent that the girl's parents spend sleepless nights taking turns monitoring and caring for her. She's very scared, and mother says, "We want to be there for her. We want to take care of her 100% like we've been doing so far. We don't want to be separated from her for even a minute." When the girl was in the US under the care of doctors at Houston who saved her life, the parents were instructed to rush her to the hospital for an emergency checkup whenever she felt these symptoms, the mother said. "But out here, that's impossible," she said in Spanish from Mexico, where her family were deported to Monterrey, the area known for the kidnapping of US citizens. "Where am I going to go?" NBC News is not publishing the family members' names out of concern for their safety, and rightfully so. Medical records shows the child underwent surgery last year to remove a brain tumor caused by an unnamed novel condition, according to Woodward. This means that few medical specialists can effectively treat and monitor her. The mother said the girl's doctors in the US were not just treating her daughter's illness, but they were also studying it because they don't even know what caused it, why it's so aggressive. Even from Mexico, she has really been in touch with the girl's doctors in the US, but they can't really assess what's happening to her from afar. So even though even though they're in Mexico, the doctors who were originally treating her, they're still having video calls and talking to the parents about 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 the situation, and obviously, so that shows to me that despite what's happened, the doctors are still, they see this because this could be something that could be really, really important for the doctors to understand why this is happening to the girl. That could be something new, a possible new disease of some sort of this illness, and the doctors obviously want to study what it could be as well. So it's not just about saving the girl's life. It could potentially, what they uncover here could potentially be something that may prevent and save lives of other people in the future as well here, guys. The surgery that saved her life last year did leave the girl with some lasting side effects. The swell on her brain is not fully gone, causing difficulties with speech and mobility on the right side of her body, as well as memory problems. These require the girl to routinely check in with doctors monitoring her recovery, get MRI scans every 3 months, attend rehabilitation therapy sessions, and take medication to prevent seizures. But she has not been able to consistently access the care since the family were deported, her mother and attorney have said. The mother insists that the rod fixator preventing her daughter's right foot from turning inwards needs to be replaced, as the girl trips more than usual. Her seizure medication is being sent to her from the United States because the family can't find the exact one she needs in Mexico, who was said. MRIs have also turned out to be very expensive and challenging for the family to get in Mexico. The girl has only been able to get one medical checkup, an MRI in Monterrey. The experience made the mother realize how difficult it would be to get a new doctor in Mexico who can get up to speed with her daughter's medical history and treat her illness. Yeah, because obviously, and the other thing as well, because the doctors in the US have been with her for a while, so they know her experience, they know diagnosis and whatnot. Try and explain this all and get all this information to a doctor in Mexico, obviously, and trying to get them on board with everything is obviously very difficult for them to get to completely, because obviously the doctor in Mexico is obviously new to this patient and new to the treatment and experience of whatnot. So there's not that history that the doctor has with the patient, whereas the ones in Texas, obviously, they do. So there's that challenge as well. And of course, I assume that the doctors in America sent all the necessary information to the Mexican doctor to help as best as possibly can in this situation. Not any doctor wants to take on such a huge commitment, the mother said. It's like starting from scratch or worse. Yeah, I think that might be. Yeah, I mean, if you get pummeled with so much information for a certain Mexican doctor, it might be a bit too much. But again, I don't know what they're like in Mexico, so I can't really stress that. But I would have thought that, considering it's a new patient and whatnot, you would think that they would have all the information sent to them, but maybe not. Additionally, the stress of the whole situation has definitely played a negative role in the girl's recovery, Woodward said. The family has been severely traumatized. On the 3rd of February, the family was driving from the Rio de Grande Valley area where they live to Houston, where the girl's doctors are based, for an emergency medical checkup. On the way, they were stopped at stateside immigration checkpoint, one they thought had passed through multiple times, but this time immigration authorities arrested parents after they were unable to show legal immigration documents. 5 of their children, aged 15, 13, 11 and 8 and 6, were with them when they were arrested. Always said the parents have never done anything to make them a priority for removal. The entire family was taken to a detention facility where they spent 24 hours before they were placed in a van and dropped on the Mexico side of the Texan bridge on the 4th of February. Another layer of this is the fact that the parents were never even given their full due process rights. Yep, unfortunately that's a reoccurrence, I'm afraid. So they were never allowed to go in front of an immigration judge to plead their case. Says Rochdale Gracia, president of the Texas Civil Rights Project. Spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees U.S. CIS, previously told NBC News that reports of the family situation are inaccurate and declined to speak on the specifics of the case, citing privacy reasons. They said in a statement that when someone is given explicit removal orders and chooses to disregard them, they will face the consequences. Privacy reasons. They've literally gone, apart from their family names, they've literally gone public to CNN with the reason for their stories, and you're saying that their story is inaccurate, and you won't cite the reasons for privacy reasons. Who do we believe, guys? A family that's intentionally gone to NBC News to open up this story that have said the reasons why they can't, or do we believe a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security who say that this story is inaccurate and are citing privacy reasons? I think we know. I think I know which side I'm on when it comes to this. The eldest son, an 18-year-old U.S. citizen, was left behind in the U.S. The older boy woke up one morning and learned that his entire family was gone, Woodward said. He graduated high school alone without his family. That's so demoralising. It breaks her heart, the mother said as she wept, adding that her son's dream of going to college and becoming a neurosurgeon after seeing how doctors saved his sister's life. But he can't do that alone. He needs our support. Even though we talk to him every day, it's really hard to be away. Instead of going to college, his son is working at a fast food job, hoping soon to see his family return home. While the Trump administration has aggressively stepped up the pace of deportations, including for immigrants who don't have criminal charges or convictions against them, there are 3 recent cases giving the girl's family hope. A Mexican mother living in California and a 3-year-old girl who suffers from a life-threatening industrial illness were granted humanitarian parole this month following a public plea for deportation relief. In April, a Venezuelan immigrant in Chicago was released from immigration detention under humanitarian parole to serve as an organ donor for his ailing brother. In March, an undocumented mother in California caring for a 21-year-old daughter, a US citizen undergoing treatment for bone cancer, was detained by immigration authorities and later released for humanitarian reasons. So there are cases where you can fight back against this, and this is another one they need to fight back against. Even though the relatives of this case were not deported, Woolworth said, I don't think this should make any difference from the perspective of the federal government. It's a discretionary choice for them to make, he said. Our case, I think, is a very strong one for humanitarian parole. The family's parole application, including letters of support from several members of Congress, including Democratic Republican Antonio Ibarres of New York and Sylvia Garcia and Joaquin Carcio of Texas, all of whom met with the family in Mexico last month. We want them to give us a chance, the mother said. We are not criminals. We are not delinquents. We simply want to save our daughter. But because they are immigrants, that's not what I see them as. And that's the sad reality. But here is the ray of hope, guys. As we saw at the end there, people's cases have been overturned. This is one that can be overturned because the law is on their side. They were not given due process. Lots and lots of people were not given due process. And this is why it's really important for news outlets like NBC News and others who are, while they are questionable, keep bringing up these stories. Keep bringing up and highlighting stories about people's cases like these where they haven't had their due process. That the Trump administration is breaking the law time and time again. Forcing the Trump administration to U-turn, because that's what we want at the end of the day. We want them to back down. We want to show people that there is a fight to be had. And there's actually a video. I haven't got it set up. I'm gonna play a very powerful video before we go to our funny video at the end as well to emphasize this as well. I'm just gonna have a quick look at the chat before we go to our next story. A Venezuelan wife and deported and her MAGA voter white husband was not pleased. It seems ironic. Yes, I heard about that. Yeah, I remember that story. I think it was a video we watched, I believe. I think it was here or somewhere else, I believe. I can't remember. Just scroll up to see what you guys are saying. When there is people from other areas, regions, states or country with no attachment, there is no case. Sad but true, says Mr. E. Yep. I turned down a 1.5-year-old grey tabby, but he's happy with my friend's house. My uncle is in a bad way, and I've agreed to adopt his cat if anything happens, so keep my door open for him. Ah, lovely. I'm middling about cats, always prefer dogs. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any dog posts to share on the members community tab, guys. Apologies. I'm sure Ice cares a lot. Yeah, I don't think Ice cares a lot about animals either, guys. I don't think they've been deporting animals, but I know you're talking about something else. There. My cats have kept a chipmunk from leaving my house for 5 days now. Iced tea in Law and Order. Someone in the chat will remember the film. What film, Billy? He was in a film about 2 white guys finding treasure in an empty tower block and a hood rack up. A syringe scene is involved, says Billy. I'm sure he'll mention it at some point. Okay, so the next story I've got for you guys is regarding Harvey Weinstein. Yes, that guy, guys. That sicko. Now I gotta be a little bit careful because I haven't been following the case very, very well. So I can only go by what you guys are saying and what I've read here in 1 or 2 other places. So on this. So this was today. Judge declares that a mistrial on the rape court in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes retrial after jury chaos. The jury foreman refused to return to deliberate. So the case on this one apparently is the jury foreman refused to go back to deliberate on the outcome of this specific case, because I know he has lots of other cases against him, if I'm right, not just this one. For whatever reason, he doesn't agree with the rest of the jurors on the specifics of this case. Now, why he doesn't agree with the rest of the jurors, I don't know, but they're basically trying to peer pressure him into basically siding with the rest of the jurors, and I'm assuming it's to make a guilty verdict on Harvey Weinstein, because pretty much I think it's fair to assume that about 90% of cases of women put in against Harvey Weinstein are probably true. As you guys know, I said this morning, it's like over 20 degrees. It's very warm here, so I will be drinking plenty of water, as I'm sure you understand. So a New York judge has declared a mistrial on the third-degree rape count in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes retrial on Thursday, after jury foreman refused to return to deliberate. The foreman had told Judge Curitas Farber on Wednesday that he was afraid to be in the same room with fellow jurors after he claimed that they yelled at him and tried to change his mind. Asked if he would be willing to go back to the deliberation room on Thursday, the foreman said, "No, I'm sorry." Farber then dismissed the remaining jurors. The former movie mogul was accused of sexually assaulting 3 women over a decade ago in New York City. The mistrial comes a day after the jury convicted Weinstein on 1 count of criminal sex act involving Mimi Harley and acquitted him of another count of criminal sex act involving Kaja Sokolia. Can't pronounce that person's name. I apologize. The third count related to an alleged assault on Asperger's actress Jessica Mann in 2013. All 3 women have publicly come forward testifying during the trial. Farber said he spoke to remaining jurors who told him they were disappointed that they did not get to render a verdict on the third count. "I will say they were extremely disappointed that deliberations ended before they reached a verdict," Farber said. The judge also said the remaining jurors did not describe anything like the discord and threats recounted by the foreman. They all thought they were involved in a normal discourse, and they don't understand why the foreman bowed out, Farber said. The Manhattan District Attorney Office immediately signaled it is ready to try Weinstein again on the rape count. Attorneys for Weinstein's others said they plan to appeal the conviction in the retrial. Quote, we have very powerful evidence that there was gross junior misconduct at this trial," Aliyah told reporters outside the courthouse. Quote, "None of us have ever heard of that, where a jury is so intimidated a grown man who is in good physical shape in his late 30s saying, 'I'm afraid to go back in the deliberation room.'" So I'm sorry. I'm starting to have a bit of suspicion, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here. 21 Jump Street comedy police film Ice-T was in. Yes, I'm familiar with that film. I think that's the one you guys were mentioning. Possibly, I'm not 100% sure. I'm literally speculating here, and feel free to say if you agree with me. Something tells me this juror might have some kind of connection of some sorts, or maybe he's a fanboy of Harvey Weinstein or something, because here's the thing, why would he be afraid to go into a room to deliberate when are we really going to believe that all the other deliberators were literally saying, everything's fine, there's nothing wrong, come in here? I smell a payoff. I smell a payoff too, Vicky. I smell a payoff too. I think there was something here. Someone got to one of the... I think, there was something here that we don't know about. It's possible, but the problem is that we're only speculating, because it doesn't make any sense to me, especially the women who basically took the stand to give their evidence on this. We're talking about something that happened to some of these women 10 years ago, and they took the stand to stand against this vile, disgusting man. The thing is that I know, obviously, innocent until proven guilty. I understand that rhetoric. But this is Harvey Weinstein we're talking about here. Okay? Like, and if the evidence is if the evidence is there, if enough people are saying it based on the information that is there, what's the issue? And it takes me back, and this actually takes me back to when I was doing jury service. And I remember there was I never did a really serious cases, guys, but there was one case that I covered, and this was about person with a possession of a firearm, and it was found in found in the person's home, and I remember the story, and I remember the jury, one of our jurors in the room when we were deliberating with all the evidence that we had at the end of it. Like, this one person was basically having doubts about, oh, what if this person faces like a lifetime in prison or whatnot? And it's just like, and we had to convince this person, like, look, like, we're not here to decide the sentence of the person. We're here to decide, based on the evidence, whether this person is guilty of possession of a firearm or not. And based on the evidence that we have here, this is the case. What happens to the person after is not our business. Yeah, we're here to make a conscious decision as jurors about the evidence put in front of us, whether this person is guilty of this crime or not. That is the role of a juror. And in the end, yeah, she just went along with the rest of us. And in actual fact, the sentence was actually not as bad as some of us actually thought it originally was, because it was a possession of a firearm. And she made a big fuss out of nothing there. I mean, it was a bit of a fuss, yeah, in that jury room, because I remember it. But in the end, she went along with the rest of us. So while it's not obviously the same thing as this, I can also understand why some people sometimes are not always like following the sheep, if you know what I mean, with everyone in there. But obviously her situation wasn't so much the evidence and the fact that the person was guilty. Her concern was basically how much time this person's going to face in prison, which, by the way, is none of our fucking business as far as I'm aware. Like, because you're there to decide based on the evidence, based on the witnesses and whatnot, to decide whether somebody's innocent or guilty, and you have to make that conscious decision with the rest of them. If that doesn't cast doubt on the verdicts here, I don't know what would. This is not over, he said. And by the way, I've had 2 jury services already in my life, which is crazy. And I'm expecting a hat trick before I die, at least. Aliyah further alleged the jury misconduct, saying that they were found out that the jurors were considering evidence not admitted in trial. Based on what? Based on what? The foreman told the judge on Monday that jurors were discussing Harvey Weinstein's past. According to a transcript of the closed encounter in the judge's chambers, when the judge summoned the entire jury that day, he reminded them to discuss only the evidence presented at the trial to be cordelled. Yeah, that's very hard. That's very hard to do so. Yeah, that's very, very hard to do so. Especially when we're talking about a person of celebrity status there. You can go to jail if you refuse jury duty, Stephen Banker, in the UK. You know that, right? If you're, I was, you could potentially face prison time if you refuse jury service. Weinstein was being retrialed for sexually assaulting Haley and Mann after his earlier conviction was overturned on appeal. He was also charged with sexually assaulting Sukia, who was not part of the first trial. Unless you can prove to them that you have, unless you can prove with a reasonable doubt why you can't do jury service, and you can't use your job as an excuse. By the way. Prosecutor said Weinstein preyed on the 3 women as he held unfettered power for over 30 years in Hollywood, while the defense countered the producers did not coerce the women and claimed that they were using him for his connections. Weinstein, 73, pleaded not guilty and said his sexual encounters were consensual. He did not testify during the trial. The split verdict of mistrial on the 3rd count came after some discourse in the jury room during deliberations. Early on Wednesday, the jury, a 4-person, sent a note telling Fabia he cannot go back inside with those people. That followed a closed-door conversation during which the 4-person complained to the judge that the jurors were attacking one another and fighting, adding, "I don't like it," according to the transcript. Without the jury present, Weinstein addressed the judge on Wednesday and complained the jury's behaviour is depriving him of a fair trial. We've heard threats, we've heard fights, we've heard intimidation, Weinstein said. This is not right for me, the person on the trial here. This is what he claimed. Weber had proposed a cooling off period, then the jury came back in saying they had a verdict on 2 criminal counts of criminal sex act counts. They resumed deliberations on the rape count on Thursday, with Faber reminding the jurors to be respectful to one another. Man said in a statement on Wednesday that he laid bare my trauma, stood up and told the truth again and again. I would never lie about rape or use something so traumatic to hurt someone, she said. New York's highest court overturned Weinstein's initial 2020 conviction on appeal last year, finding the trial judge erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior sexual acts against the person other than the complainants of the underlying crimes. Weinstein has also appealed his 2022 convictions on sex offences in Los Angeles. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison there. Alejandro said on Thursday that they are very confident that our appeal will be successful. Just a reminder, this is a developing story as well, guys, just for reference there as well. So remember, this guy still has a lot of money, so he's still fighting these cases here. A juror picked a fight with me when I served, and my response resulted in the bailiff coming to tell us to keep it down. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, yeah, emotions, reasons, right things. Motion fixing things, right? Rare here, I mean. Thanks for popping in, Billy. No problem. Much appreciated. Cases here are based on facts and law, not in narratives and opinion. Even if more cumbersome, they're much more logic than this ramble with emotions of jurors and cases. That's what they're based on, facts and laws as well with the jurors. It's the exact same thing. Like, it's not based on personal opinions and whatnot. It's the same with the jurors here. Like, you have to make, like, you're told if you're like, if there's there are like, so like if you're on the like, say for instance you're doing a case with let's say for instance they're doing a case on a footballer, right? And you happen to be a fan of either that person's football club, or you're a football fan yourself, and you, for example, have basically that person used to play for the football club that you support or something. Like, these kind of questions will be asked to jurors long before the case even starts. And if there is a connection there, you're dismissed out of that case because there could be a conflict of interest. So there are always there are checks made on jurors on certain things before you are put in a certain case, depending on what that case is, what the individual is, what possible links that jurors could have to that person individual if that person is a celebrity of some sorts. Because obviously, if you have anybody because obviously, of course, conflict of interest is the obvious thing there. So it's what it could be. So it's really, really important to have that. I've had I can't remember what my first case was, but yeah, any jurors, it's always based on evidence and facts is what it should be based on anyway. And you hear the cases from both sides, and you have to make your decision. I've never had apart from that one, pretty much I've had 2 other cases I've been a part of, and they've not really been that serious, to be fair. But that's been the most serious case that I've been a part of. And that person's probably back out on the streets now, or probably back on the streets causing trouble again. Speaking of a person causing trouble, the US President Donald Trump has launched a new gold card. Donald Trump launches a website for a $5 million gold card granting US residency. That's right, guys. For $5 million, you can get US residency. If you're about to get convicted, splash out $5 million and you can be safe from ICE. Understand the difference by system and for friend on here. You have a lawyer, you present documents and witness. There's only 1 judge or 3 judges. Okay, you don't have jurors in them. I'm assuming you don't have jurors in Portugal then. Yeah, the justice system's different in Portugal than it is to here. But that's fine. Everyone is different there. Good night, Billy. Thanks for popping in. Much appreciate it. But yeah, the US President unveils site for applicants to register the interest for Trump's gold card granting path to citizenship. So if anybody wants to donate, if anyone wants to donate $5 million in the chat to get me this gold card so that I can get US residency, that would be greatly appreciated. If you click the super chat link and you just type in the highest number you can donate, and then just repeat it over and over until you get to 5 million. $5 million, that'd be greatly appreciated. So I can get my, go get my US residency. That'd be greatly appreciated, guys. Tiny Tesla, tackle Trump, says Ben Ridgens. Good to see you there, Ben. Hope you're doing well. We'll do a video or a stream about it. No worries, no worries. And as I said, guys, do check out Jal's YouTube channel as well. Let's talk about his amazing gold card. US President Donald Trump said his administration is accepting applications for his so-called Trump card, which promises applicants a permanent residence for $5 million. Trump made the announcement on Wednesday as he unveiled a new website for prospective applicants to register their interest. Visitors to trumpcard.gov are encouraged to submit their name, region, and email address and specify whether they are applying as an individual or a business in order to be notified the moment access opens. Founders have been calling and asking how they can sign up to ride a big, beautiful road in gaining access to the greatest country and market anywhere in the world. Trump said in the post on Truth Social. It's called the United States of America. The waiting list is now open. Alistair Keir has gotten me started, guys. I started with a £5 super chat. A start towards it. That means I've only got $4,999,900,000 left to coop up, guys. So if you guys want to chip in, feel free to do so. I'm joking, by the way, of course, guys. Seriously, thank you for that super chat, Alistair Keir. You didn't have to. I'm joking, by the way. If you can't super chat, don't worry about it. Honestly, guys, I'm only joking. Trump's first proposed a residency visa in February, saying his administration would offer wealthy applicants a gold card. I have to say it like that. Just for, you got to have a bit of a laugh about this, guys. We need to laugh a bit about this all, because if we don't, we're just going to cry in pity on over this. That grants residency and workers' rights as well as the path to citizenship. They'll be wealthy, they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money. They'll be paying a lot of taxes. Don't know about taxes. They'll be employing a lot of people, Trump said at the time. In April, Trump displayed a simple visa, a gold-color card bearing his visage to report to board airports to reporters on board Air Force One. Trump's administration officials suggest that the card will replace the EB-5 immigration visa investor visa program, which grants permanent residencies to immigrants who invest in at least $1.5 million in the U.S. or 800,000 designated economically distressed areas. It is unclear what criteria applicants may have to meet, apart from the $5 million price tag, though the Trump administration has indicated there will be a vetting process. Yeah, you have to be from certain countries, or you have to have connections to the Trump administration. You may have to, like if the Syrian government, for example, offers to build Trump towers in their city, in their capital, for example. Just saying, Under current immigration rules, lawful permanent residents can apply for nationalization after 5 years, provided they have the basic grasp of English and that they can demonstrate that they are good moral character and have an attachment to the principles and ideals of the U.S. Constitution. So yes, guys, who here is looking to apply for their gold card? It's a joke. I know it's a joke, guys. It really is a case of basically buy your way to citizenship, buy your way to the presidency. It's essentially what it is. It's essentially what it is, and it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It's just a way for Trump and his people and all the people around him to make more money. That's essentially what it is. It's all about them making more money at the end of the day. That's what they're looking to do. And it's pretty distasteful, to say the least. Well, dictators from the world will need to use the CIA to relocate to USA, but now they just need to get the Trump card. I'm sure Vladimir Putin will apply for one as well. I don't see why not. He can't apply for one. I'm sure that will help in his endeavors in terms of the war in Ukraine. Maybe Iran's citizens may be able to apply for it as well. I'm sure some Chinese citizens will try to apply for it as well. We don't call him Donald LaDouche for nothing, says Vicky. I'll give the US a wide berth for now, says Ben Ridgens. You sure you haven't got $5 million behind the couch? Back behind the couch? You sure about that? Is it true Donald Duck is changing his name because of Trump? That is nothing more than a rumor, and a rumor nothing more than that. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. We'll leave that one. We'll leave that one on the standby. No, my hat. I have to take the hat off. I'm afraid, guys. Sorry. It's a rumor. It's not been confirmed or denied, shall we say? So, guys, before we go to our final funny video, I wanted to share this this powerful video here from Maddox. Some of you guys have seen. You guys might be very familiar with it. And I thought, remember, I didn't play this last night, and I thought this was, and I really wish I did, because of how powerful it was. And I think it's very, very interesting to say the least. But we will have one more funny video to see ourselves out. But let's have a listen together on this, guys.
So what is the most important story in our news right now, in our country, in this moment in American history? I mean, there is clearly, I think if we're being honest, we sort of stop beating around the bush about it. There's really no question what the United States is up against right now. I mean, the intentions of this president are not a mystery. There's no suspense. There's no ambiguity, right? We know exactly who he is. We know exactly what he wants to do to the country, right? No question, no mystery. It's as plain as day. The real question we are contending with, the real black box, the real drama, the story that really does need to be dug up and explained and told in our country because it is as yet undecided. The real mystery is not him. We know him. We know what he wants and what he's trying to do. The real mystery is, will he succeed? Will he get what he wants? And the answer to that will not be found by looking at him or by watching his actions. The answer to that question will come from the people of this country. The most important story of our time is this one. What is this country going to allow him to do? This is an attempted authoritarian overthrow of the United States Constitution and the U.S. government, the attempted imposition of a dictatorial regime. That is clear. That is unambiguous. I think it is unquestioned. I think there are very few people on any side of American politics who would contend with that. The question is whether it will work. And the way we will find out whether or not it's going to work is not going to be something that happens in the White House. It's going to be something that happens in the streets and in the courts and in the states and in Congress and in every other place that people are trying to say no. The strength of the movement against him is what will determine our fate as a country. And what we are seeing over and over again in what I believe is the most important story in the country, what we are seeing over and over again is that protesting against him works. That he wants to seem strong, but he is not that strong. Organizing against him works. Fighting him in court works. Pushing back works. Protesting in the streets works. And so Marcelo is free in Milford, Massachusetts. And Carol is free in Missouri. And the 4-year-old girl in Bakersfield, California is free and alive. And in Albuquerque, the movement to keep Antonio here means that Antonio is still here. And none of these things are instant, right? And they don't always work. But pushback is the only thing that ever does work.
Well, that was really powerful. Really, really powerful. And like this, it went in tangent with the story that we covered a little bit earlier, that this can be pushed back. That it is not dead and buried. That America can fight this back. American people can fight this back. And it's about how they act, how they respond to this. And simply not allow Donald Trump to carte blanche everything that he's doing. They must continue the fight. Every single day, from the moment they wake up, from the moment they wake up, there is not a single day, minute, hour, or second that they must not stop fighting. I know everyone needs to stop and breathe, stop to take a break and whatnot from what is a stressful time for American citizens, but it is so important that they continue this fight because, as she just pointed out there, America. This Trump administration can be pushed back. But they have to keep pushing back. And we need to push back whenever we possibly can against them. Thank you, Dave McGuinness. We are So I still got to find over $4.9 million, but I'm getting there thanks to Alistair Keir and Dave McGuinness giving me money towards my Trump Gold Card residency. So thank you for that. Have a coffee on me. I'll put that funding towards the Trump Gold Card. I'm not a coffee drinker myself, but I might have a hot chocolate instead. But thank you so much for the £5 super chat, David, and thank you for what you do as well. For what you do on YouTube as well. Really is great stuff. Again, I can't stress it enough, guys. Do check out his work, the work of the two Davies on their YouTube channel. Really is important stuff. So, guys, of course, it wouldn't be right for not talking about. Yeah, you didn't think I wasn't gonna end with a Maggie Reed video, right? You know it's Maggie Reed, guys. You can't not have a Maggie Reed video. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I'm probably going to get told off by YouTube saying because of the music, but fuck it, let's have a bit of fun, guys. Hope you guys enjoy this one.
Introducing the Taxpayer Platinum Money Card, exclusively for Donald J. Trump, who wants to live large and carefree on your dime. You pay, he plays. Do you need to renovate a bribe jet that you got from the government of Qatar to the tune of $1 billion taxpayer dollars, even though you already have 2 Air Force Ones in commission? Do you need a $90 million military parade on your birthday to soothe your fragile ego? Or an unconstitutional military deployment to assert your fictional authority? No problem. Swipe. The public's got you covered. The Super Bowl, 1 million. UFC front row, 500K. Golf weekends, we've already hit over 26 million in just 6 months. Or maybe a trip to a foreign nation to conduct your private business endeavors. Yikes, corrupt and pricey. But Trump swipes and the people sacrifice. And Trump can do all this with the Taxpayer Platinum Money Card. With the Taxpayer Platinum Money Card, there is no limit to what you can spend because Trump will just raise the debt ceiling. And if there's any question about spending, well, Trump will just cut healthcare, Social Security, cancer research, education, and food programs. You know, the things that taxpayers actually care about. Nothing says fiscally conservative like lighting your constituents' money on fire. But don't worry, your children's children's children will be paying for all of this debt. So move over, no taxation without representation. No representation, just taxation. But hey, Trump isn't taking a salary, right? You fund it, he flaunts it. It's luxury for him and leftovers for you. No limits, no shame, no refunds. The Taxpayer Money Platinum Card!
Fuck's sake. Well, it's true. That's basically what he's doing, guys. It's bloody true. Oh, Maggie. Oh, it's supposed to be funny, wasn't it? I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or feel sad, but I guess a bit of both. I'm supposed on that one there. I guess a bit of both on that one. To be fair. I wonder if the World Cup will actually happen in the US. Been hearing some things. I still think it's going to go ahead. And this is my general prediction right now for the World Cup. I think the World Cup is going to go ahead. And I think what's generally going to happen is the Trump administration are going to go easy on immigration during that period because they will want to make a spectacle. I think they will intentionally reduce their immigration numbers and detainments and roundups during the World Cup intentionally and in the run up to it to show to calm the waters sort of thing. I think that's going to be intentional from the Trump administration because one thing Donald Trump doesn't like, as you guys know, he doesn't like bad PR. So I think the World Cup is still going to go ahead, but what I think is going to happen is they're going to slow down on roundups on people during that period. I think that's what's going to happen. There might be another. That's also another reason why they may be doing it now. Is during the World Cup they don't want to be doing. They don't want to be doing this during the World Cup because they don't want to shine us. They don't want to shine a spotlight on what they're doing. So I think that's another reason. So guys, I want to say thank you all for coming here tonight. Thank you, Alistair Key and Dave McGuinness, for your super chats. Thank you guys for all your comments, much appreciated. I will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for another good morning show. So if you could join me for that, feel free to do so. We'll cover some UK and some world news, a mixture of both tomorrow. So if you guys want to join me for that as well, that's the last live stream of the week. So do join me for that if you can. If you can't make it, do make sure you check out Dave McGuinness tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. And also on Friday at 5 p.m. is Friday Frolics with Daily Blase, a really fun blast live stream. Do check out his live stream, guys. It's really fun. I can't emphasize that enough. Even if you've never been on Daily Blase's YouTube channel, if you've never checked out his content, do check out this live stream. You'll get a laugh out of it, and trust me, we all need a good laugh considering just how depressing news can be these days, guys. It really is important. Of course, I didn't want to go without the gang, because I know you guys have been posting the emojis. There they are. The gang is here. And what happened to the orb? I literally turned you on. Wait. Hey! It's on! The orb is empowered this time, guys. He normally has it turned off, you know. He normally has it turned off. So for those who don't know, Ollie has always been our first mascot. He always sits on top. Originally, he was sitting on top of the lava lamp, but apparently his arse was getting too hot because of the lava lamp. That's why he sits on top of the orb now. Then we have Pingu, who is the, I believe it's Foreign Secretary. He keeps changing his position within the Democratic Penguins Republic there, of course, there. Then we have Cash Dummy, the Cookie Monster, hiding behind there. And our newest member of the gang behind here, Blaze, the Charmander there. It's not really, he's the quietest out of the lot. He's very quiet, but we do have an emoji for him as well, guys, as well. So, but yes, the gang are all here as well. So I want to show you guys them there. So yeah, have a good evening, guys. And yes, tomorrow is Friday. So we have reached the weekend, guys, so just so you know. But just before we run out, I have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, hit that like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. You can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very soon.